Hello. So today we're going to read a story about the 2020 census. So, like we do in class, we're going to read the story and then we're going to answer the questions at the end. Okay, so it's the 2020 census. The U.S. will have a census in 2020. The U.S. has a census every 10 years. A census counts every person living in an area. Go ahead and read this last sentence on your own. Okay, so you should have said the 2020 census will count every person in the U.S. A U.S. government group does the census. This group is called the Census Bureau. The Census Bureau uses the census to gather information. The information is about people in the U.S. You read this last sentence. So you should have read the U.S. government uses this information. So what happens every 10 years is our government wants to count every person that lives in our country. And that's what's called the census. The information helps the government make decisions. Some decisions are about money. The government decides how much money to give to states. States use the money to build schools, hospitals, roads, and more. How does the Census Bureau do a census? The Census Bureau sends census forms in March. Go ahead and read this third sentence right here. You should have read, they send a form to every home in the U.S. Each form has a list of questions. The questions are about the people living in the home. So, where I live, the Census Bureau mailed me a little piece of paper, and then I had to go on the computer and I filled it out and told them everybody that lives in my house. One question asks, how many people live in the home? Other questions ask for each person's name, birthday, and age. You go ahead and read this third sentence right here on your own. So you should have read, everyone must answer the questions for the census. The census is a part of U.S. law. Now, remember, laws are like the rules that we have in our classroom. They're like the rules for our country and where we live. People can answer the questions by mail, online, or by phone. So like I told you, they mailed me something, and then I went on the computer and I filled it out. Workers from the Census Bureau may visit some homes. The workers ask questions. The workers count people living in the homes. Go ahead and read this first sentence right here. Okay, you should have said, or you should have been able to read, the U.S. will have a census in 2020. The census will count every person living in the U.S. The census will count you, your family, your friends, your teachers, and more. How many people do you think live in the U.S.? The Census Bureau. The Census Bureau is a U.S. government group. The Census Bureau gathers and shares information. This information is about people in the U.S. The Census Bureau started in 1902. I want you to read this last sentence right here for me. So you should have read their headquarters is in Suitland, Maryland. So the U.S., the census counts every person in the U.S. The U.S. has more than 300 million people. Read this next sentence right here for me. The third sentence. So you should have read, these people live in states across the U.S. The U.S. has 50 states. The U.S. became a country in 1776. So the U.S. stands for United States. That's where we live. That's the country we live in. We live in Ohio. That's the state. So there's 50 states. We live in Ohio. And then the city we live in is Cincinnati. So you got country, U.S., state, Ohio, city, Cincinnati. All right, that was a story. So we're going to go ahead. This is the knock knock joke. Knock knock. Who's there? School. School who? School to be counted. It's cool. All right, so this is the part where we're going to choose pictures about the 2020 census. So, parents, if you want to pause the video and have them choose 3 pictures in each row that we read about. Now, there's going to be 1 picture that's not right. So you can pause it, you can do that, and then I'm going to go through and answer all the questions together after they do it on their own to see if they got it right. Okay, so when you're ready for me to go over it, you can unpause the video. So the pictures that we read about in the first row. So we have clap, form, question, and person. So do we read about clap? Yes or no? I don't remember recalling clap. Form. So there's a form that the government sends us, if you remember from the story. So we heard the green, it's green. We heard the bell, that means it's right. Question. So the government is sending us questions about who lives in our house. Oh, that's right. Person. So we've got clap and we've got person. Did we read about person? Yes or no? Person. Yes. So the second row here, we got money, government, census, pencil sharpener. Which one did you pick? Okay, let's go through them. Money. Did we read about money? Do you remember in the story if we recalled reading about money? Let's click on it and find out. Yes, we read about money. Government. Well, if you remember from the story, the government is performing this census. So yes, I believe we did read about this. Census or pencil sharpener? Tell me, census or pencil sharpener, which one do you think? Yeah, census. I don't recall reading about a pencil sharpener. Pencil sharpeners don't have anything to do with the census. Every, banjo, decisions, information. Uh, every. So the government wants to count every person living in the U.S. That's right. We've got banjo or decision. What do you think? Banjo or decision? I don't recall reading about a banjo. Let's look at decision. Now we've got banjo or information. What do you think? Banjo or information? Okay, information. The government is trying to collect information. Information is like data, or uh, information is things that the government needs to know. U.S., count, referee, or home. Okay. Did we read about the U.S.? I remember there was a whole page about U.S. is the country we live in. Okay, good. That was right. Count, referee, home. Let's try count, because remember the census, they need to count every person. Referee or home? You tell me which one you think. Referee or home? Home. Remember, they're going to mail something to your house. And if you don't fill it out, they'll send somebody to your house. Okay, now we're going to answer the comprehension questions. What is this paper about? We've got Amazing Young Athletes, March Madness, or the 2020 census. Which one did we read about? Point to it. You should have pointed to this one. Who does the census? So we've got National Weather Service, National Park, or the Census Bureau. Point to the one that you think is right. Okay, you should have pointed to Census Bureau. Where will every census count? Where will the census count every person? The United States, space, or ocean? Now think about what country we live in. Okay, you should have pointed to the US. Nobody lives in space. No humans live in space. No humans live in the ocean. We all live in the United States. That's the country we live in. What does the Census Bureau gather? Information, recipes, flowers. You should have pointed to information. What counts every person living in the US? Calculator, census, or map? Point to the one you think that's right. You should have probably pointed to census. That one was kind of tricky because calculator deals with numbers too, but that's just if we're doing math, like if we're doing a math worksheet, we're adding or subtracting. The census calculates all the people together. We couldn't do that with just one calculator. What does the census want to know about each person? Their favorite color, their birthday, or their height? You tell me. Okay. They really want to know their birthday so they can tell when was everybody born. Okay. So that's it for this News to You article. I hope that was helpful. And we'll be putting out more of these videos uh, for you and your students. Miss Bryan, the other autism unit teacher, and I will be doing this. Thank you.